Here's an example of how to graph a tangent function. We're supposed to graph two cycles or two periods of the function y equals -2 plus the tangent of x minus pi over 4. Okay, before we dive into this one, I just want us to recall what the graph of the tangent function looks like. So I just want us to remember, pretend like we're graphing y is equal to the tangent of x. And tangent function is defined to be the sine of x over the cosine of x. And this is a rational function. So any rational function has the potential to have vertical asymptotes because the denominator could equal 0 at some point. So for tangent of x, this will occur when the cosine is equal to 0 because that's our denominator. So if we recall the unit circle, cosine of x is equal to 0 right here at pi over 2 and right here at negative pi over 2 because this is the point 0, -1, cosine is 0, 0, 1, cosine is 0. So for this graph, the vertical asymptotes occur at x is pi over 2 and x is negative pi over 2. So if we were going to graph tangent function right here at negative pi over 2, we'd have a vertical asymptote. Here's negative pi over 4. Here is 0. Here's pi over 4. And here is pi over 2. And if you'll recall, like this is, let's say this is -1 and this is 1, that at negative pi over 4, I'm going to mess up my graph here, but this is -1, then it goes to 0, then it goes to 1. The tangent curve looks a lot like x cubed. It comes down here, and then it goes up here, and it hugs these vertical asymptotes. So this is what the tangent function looks like. It's got a period of pi, which is different from sine and cosine. Sine and cosine, cosecant and secant have a period of 2 pi, but cotangent and tangent graphs functions have a period of just pi. So that's the tangent graph. It's worth recalling what that looks like before we go in to graph this one, -2 plus the tangent of x minus pi over 4. All right, we're going to just bounce this off of this generic y is equal to c plus a times the tangent of b times x minus d. This generic thing where c right here, this indicates a vertical shift. So this is going to, the whole graph's going to be shifted down to, I take care of vertical shifts at the very end. A, we don't see anything in front of this tangent. We know it's 1. The amplitude is 1. Our amplitude has not been affected. I don't see anything in front of here. I know that B is 1. That B affects our period. The period, which is normally pi, would be pi over B. But in our case, it's pi over 1 or just pi. So we still have the same period. And then we have this phase shift going on, x minus pi over 4, that we have to deal with. Okay, this is very much like sine and cosine. When you graph that, you take whatever period you have for your particular function and you divide by 4. And this gives you the spacing. So the spacing for us is going to be pi divided by 4. This tells us our spacing on our x values. That will be important to us when we graph this. Okay, the other thing we want to know is our asymptotes. Normally, on the tangent curve, it would be at pi over 2 and negative pi over 2. But all we do to figure out where they'll be for our particular graph with the phase shift is take this b times x minus d and set that equal to pi over 2 and negative pi over 2. Then we solve for x. So in our case, we're just going to take x minus pi over 4, set that equal to pi over 2. This will give us one of our vertical asymptotes. Take x minus pi over 4 and set that equal to negative pi over 2. And this will give us our other vertical asymptote for one cycle of this function. So if I add pi over 4 to both sides, I'm going to get that x is equal to, this gives me 3 pi over 4 when I add pi over 2 plus pi over 4. If I add pi over 4 to both sides here, I get x is equal to negative pi over 4. Is that right? Yes, I think that's right. So here's my other, these give me the vertical asymptotes and the interval over which I'm going to be graphing. So that tells me where to begin my x marks on my x-axis. So I'm going to start here at negative pi over 4. So that's going to be my first one. I want to switch to pencil because I tend to make some mistakes when I do this. So let me just make sure. This is negative pi over 4. Then my spacing is pi over 4. So I want to add pi over 4, and that's going to land me here at 0. This is my next important place at 0. And then if I add pi over 4, I'm at pi over 4. If I add pi over 4, I'm at pi over 2. If I add pi over 4, I'm at 3 pi over 4. And this will make one period work. So let's do one period and make sure we're on track with everything, and then we can do the next period. At negative pi over 4, we have a vertical asymptote. So I'm going to dash this line to indicate this is a vertical asymptote. At 3 pi over 4, I have another vertical asymptote. The amplitude is 1. So this is what we have. This is 1 and this is negative 1. That didn't change. If A had been like say 3 or 2, then this would become a, if A was 3, then this would be a 3 and this would be a negative 3 and so on. So that's all that affects. But ours didn't change. It's between 1 and negative 1. So here we go. Our tangent graph, if you recall, it goes from negative 0 positive. So at 0, it's going to be down here at negative 1. At pi over 4, it's going to be at y is 0. At pi over 2, it's going to be up here at 1. And these are our three places that we're going to mark. Now, that took care of this much of our graphing. Tangent, this took care of the phase shift and the amplitude. The last thing I have to deal with is the vertical shift. And I'm going to do what I have been doing with the other graphs. I'm just going to change my scale. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. So that makes this negative 2. And that makes this 0. So this is my new, whoops, so I'll try to do it horizontal. This is my new x-axis. My x-axis is here, then this would be 1, and so on. So if you've done it in pencil, you can erase. If you have not done it in pencil, you can just kind of mark it out a little bit. But you need to indicate that this is your new x-axis right here. Okay, so now we can fill in our tangent graph. It'll look like this. This is what my tangent graph looks like. They wanted 2 periods, so I'm going to keep going down my x-axis here, or what used to be my x-axis. It's still the same axis. So right here, this is going to be another pi over 4 would put me at pi. Let's see, I'll just add some more spacing. Then 5 pi over 4. 6 pi over 4 is really 3 pi over 2. And then 7 pi over 4. This gives me the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my next vertical asymptote. I'm going to be down here at negative 1, here and here. Although that's not negative 1 anymore, it's actually negative 3. And I'm going to draw my tangent curve. It's going to look like this. Okay, now, there's absolutely no guessing that we have to do. We can always confirm that we've landed in the right places through point plotting. So I'm going to put down my x values that I chose. I'll do it for one cycle. Negative pi over 4, 0, pi over 4, pi over 2, and 3 pi over 4. I'm just going to point plot. I'm going to plug in these x values and see what the y should be. Negative 2 tangent of x minus pi over 4. Okay, so I'm simply going to plug in negative pi over 4 for x. Negative pi over 4 minus pi over 4 is negative 2 pi over 4, which is negative pi over 2. I want to consider the unit circle. Negative pi over 2 is right here at 0, negative 1. Tangent is sine over cosine, negative 1 over 0, which is undefined. That is indicating a vertical asymptote. So that is totally in agreement. For 0, if we put in 0, 0 minus pi over 4 is negative pi over 4. That is right here. The tangent of pi over 4 in the fourth quadrant, that's our reference angle, pi over 4, is going to be negative 1 because the sine is negative, the cosine is positive. So that the tangent here is negative 1. So negative 2 times negative 1 gives me a, let's see, oh, I'm missing a plus. This is a little bit of a problem. Let me put my plus there. Okay, this is a plus. That's going to help a lot because it's going to make more sense. negative 2 plus the tangent of this. Okay, so let me start again. 0. 0 minus negative pi over 4 is the tangent of negative pi over 4, which is right here. The tangent of negative pi over 4 is negative 1. So we have a negative 2 minus 1, which gives us a negative 3. Pi over 4 minus pi over 4 is 0. The tangent of 0 here, 1 comma 0. Tangent is sine over cosine, 0 over 1. This is 0. Negative 2 plus 0 is negative 2. You can continue on down. This is going to show that you get a negative 1, and this is going to show undefined. And you can confirm that what you graphed is exactly right.